Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse, and more specifically, beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And today my guest is Ed the Pagan. Hi, Ed.
Hello, how you doing?
I am good. And welcome everyone. As you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments into whatever platform you're watching on. They'll appear in my chat room. The chat room is not on the screen today because we have a guest, but we will see it and we can respond to you.
Well, we can
Uh,
put it on there. I mean, it just makes us a little more cramped.
but we could do that.
We'll see if people ask questions.
Today is the last day of year 24 Aquarius, and tomorrow is the first day of year 25.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been blessed with a black moon yesterday, and that's where we're at.
Yeah,
Heading out of one year, heading into another calendrical year, and
yeah. It's important to mention that because we also celebrate the Witch's New Year, which is November 1st.
yes,
I'm a super fan, as everybody may or may not know, of Chinese New Year, which is going to be the Year of Snake on January 29th.
hmm
Um, so there's all sorts of calendars and startings of the year. I mean, so many of them.
yes, indeed. We want to
Like,
say hello to Shankar Alum in the chat room.
so I think it's important to understand that. But this one's been really super important this year. This sort of let us call it the Western calendar.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoy all of the different New Years, the liturgical New Year and the calendrical New Year and the Asian New Year, and occasionally a few others.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but this one, yeah, it was the Black Moon yesterday.
hmm
Um, Came off very well. We did a very unusual thing, and we've gotten a lot of great reactions, a few negatives. I mean, Um, there was some idea of it being cartoony, and it says, no, you don't understand. That's not cartoony. It's about these are avatars. They're about to change it. But for the biggest part, people have enjoyed it. It spread out. It definitely spoke to our anger that we have coming into the new year. It actually condensed to where we need to feel protected. I think that
hmm
came over well. Uh,
And hello to Swack Fan in the chat room.
Probably one of the things I've gotten back a little bit of feedback is they didn't expect our ancestors to speak,
hmm
and that's probably the biggest mixed bag of the bunch.
hmm
That moment, the fact that we use their voices through computer enhancement, and that was those really. The question is, and I think it was an important one. I think let's go ahead and deal with the one I think is
hmm
probably the most important question. Were those real oracles, first of all? And the second thing, or we were just planting words in their mouths that they wanted to hear. I literally have heard that back this morning.
Well, first, let me say hello to Janet Winston in the chat room. It's good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they were genuine oracles.
Mm-hmm.
And if you knew the three women in question, that's exactly what they would say. Um, and the other thing is,
Mm-hmm.
in the Corellian priesthood, we talk to the ancestors all the time, so you can ask them yourself.
Right.
See if they'd say something different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they said to us.
Right. Absolutely. So people were asking about water too. Why was they
hmm
asking for water? And they want to know what the issues of water is. And we use water for all sorts of purposes, for cleansing, for purifying. Maybe you can answer. Maybe you can answer the question for our people about the idea of water here.
Well, charged water is used in many different ways. You can charge water. I mean, we charge water for pretty much every ritual, um, but you can also charge it along with certain cosmic events, like the Black Moon, to absorb the energy that goes with those cosmic events. And hello to Renee in the chat room. Hello to Magical Mermaid in the chat room. It's good to see you. People often charge water during the cycles of the moon, during solar for lunar eclipses and other events. And what you do with it is then you use that water to carry forward the energies of that event into what you happen to be doing. It can be used magically, it can be used ritually, um, and it brings that energy into what you're doing because it's been preserved in the water. It's held in the water. And that's why you charge water and what you do with it. And hello to Black Crystal in the chat room.
Um, and in this case, I was asking for water, gallons and gallons of it. I mean, certainly. And we actually have little bottles of water if people want them.
They look like this.
Absolutely. This is actually from the shrine. This is actually from us. So if you want one, contact Don. They're like, he'll ship it for the cost of shipping, and for cost of the bottle. $10, I would say.
Yeah, that
Donation
should
of
cover
$10.
everything.
And we have a number of them. So if you want them, contact DM Don and let him know, or me.
Now, Swagfan in the chat room says, I didn't get the chance to see all of the live yesterday, but I went back and watched the replay, and it was powerful. Thank you, Swagfan.
So I believe that in a lot of ways, us copying and filming these rituals, something our elders had no opportunity to do.
That's true.
I mean, if they captured it, it was first in the mind, the oral stories that were repeated over and over again. It's why we have traditions, why we see these rituals repeated over and over and over again. Sometimes with no changes, sometimes with small changes, sometimes with drift. They drift in language, they drift in things, or they're trying to keep as traditional as possible. You see that inside the Catholic Church. You see that in some of the old-time groups, especially in Eastern Europe, where they try to repeat the same rituals over and over again because that's the only way they have to retain them. And that has power. I also think that having it filmed and taped also brings that power back, even if it's outside of the time constraints of it. I think it brings it back.
I'm a great believer in the idea that you can join a ritual long after it physically happened. Because a lot of the idea of ritual is that it's taking place in a time outside of time. It's not tied to its physical time, and if you join it through a recording of its existence, or you join it astrally, or any number of other ways, you are, in a manner of speaking, taking part in it as if you had been physically present. We want to say hello to Mystic Order of the Sacred Circle, and Spikefan would like one of the bottles of water.
So just DM Don and he can make arrangements for that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, We make things very, very easy.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the things I thought I would comment on, you were saying that some people had thought it was a little on the cartoony side because of the avatars, but people have been using Second Life for years now for ritual purposes. Including some of our own people, and it has that same quality to it, and it's never been a problem for anyone. And I think that it's simply a different aesthetic.
Well, let's go so far as let's remind people when Second Life came out. We had a number of people working in Second Life. We were there for years. Our friend Brendan helped us. We had flyers, we had pamphlets. It just was not for the cost sustainable because we believe in one thing. We want to make dimes act like dollars.
Yes.
Everything we do, this is one of our deepest philosophies. How can we make a dime act like a dollar?
And we want to say hello to Ben in the chat room. And Shocker Alum, Gary, is saying we have an entire ritual based around sacred water, the lustration. This is true. Sacred water has a huge place in Corellianism.
Right. And so for this water, the black moon, you can use it for any number of things, for manifestation magic.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to use it in some ways. What is war water? It's spiritual water. It's about warfare. It's about which is holy water, the equivalent of which is holy water. You can turn it into it. And it's one of the ways to fight spiritual warfare. If somebody comes up and he says, this is our water, and they're fighting, you can use it to bless the ground. You can use it to create separation. That's why I also want salt. Salt and water, purity into purity for purity's sake. It can then act, because it's so much with that black moon energy and so much with that. we can use it as a counter to those who would say, "Oh, Christians would say, oh, we're going to splash holy water on you." Oh, really? Well, here's ours, and I guarantee they
So,
will
yeah,
scream way louder than we will ever do.
I'm sure that's true. Yes.
But that's what I meant
Well,
by more water.
I mean, we do live at a time when there are people who are directing what they call spiritual warfare against us, and they have become very powerful. I think it was 10 years ago
Hmm.
we were doing shows on that subject in Salem because they were making a major push then,
Hmm.
and they now have achieved most of the things they were pushing for, and some defensive techniques are very much desirable at this time, I would say.
Well, in the archives of Corellian TV, formerly Magic TV, you find the records of October 2019, where it almost turned into a riot. It
Yeah.
got so strong that it got to almost be a physical riot around the bewitched symbol.
hmm
They had gotten so angry. The Christian movement got so angry because they were being defied. I mean, absolutely defied.
hmm
That the police had to step in and prevent what would have been in 2019, right before COVID. The last Salem before COVID, it would have
hmm
been it would have changed very differently if it would have rung out. Riot breaks out in Salem. Which city?
That's true, and you can see that for yourself in our
Hmm.
archives at Corellian TV. It was filmed.
I filmed
It
it.
was a
Yeah,
real event. Yeah.
yeah. Eventually, I had to go to the police. I remember going next to the police and said, "We're going to see a riot," and he goes, "No, not today, not." And the officer literally, I've been talking to him. He was a good guy. I'm not going to out him, but he was a good guy. I talked to him every day. I've been there every day. And I've been talking about these protests, and yeah, he said, "Yeah, not on my watch." He literally said, "Not on my watch." 10 minutes later, one of the Christians went out and pushed people, started pushing people, and
hmm
that's when the police stepped in. No one got
For
arrested
sure.
that day, though. Or I think several people should have.
Yeah.
So if they're in the mood for that in 2019, what are they in the
Well,
mood?
one of the things we
Hmm?
one of the things we've been talking about is the U-Hauls full of Nazis in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and other very aggressive actions in some parts of the country coming from Christian nationalism, and we have to be mindful of it.
And that's part of where I'm hoping that people can use part of this water, if nothing else, to give themselves protection,
hmm
to utilize it in these stronger emotional ways.
It's very very easy for people to turn their eyes away and say, "Oh, there's not really a problem here," but we need to be mindful of it. We need to be prepared for it because we have every reason to think there's a problem
His,
happening. And Swat Fan uh, says, I believe that my parents are deep in the church and they always say that they're praying for me and my wife, but we've been having problems. So I think my mother is trying to pray us apart." Well, quite possibly. Hello to Vivian P in the chat room, who wishes us a happy New Year's Eve
mm-hmm,
and asks if there's going to be a show tomorrow. Yes, there will.
mm-hmm.
Um, I will probably not be making merry late into the night, so there will be a show tomorrow. And Janet Winston says, I did get to watch the ritual later, and it was interesting.
Absolutely, and it's different. So understand, we've already been asked to do it again. We might do it for 125-25
hmm
when the sword and the scepter arrive in the sky.
hmm
Um, People don't. I guess it's coming out. So now that I've reconciled a lot of what I've had to do this year. For me, it's been a year of reconciliation. It's been really tough. If you talk about
hmm
shadow work, and you think that, oh, you get over shadow work, well, every once in a while you get bitten by a snake,
Yes.
and you have to get the venom back out. It took me over a year to get the venom back out. But I'm good, and I've reconciled with where I'm at. I'm going to take on a new role, a position that I haven't before, which is pastor. And everybody's going to say, "Oh, you've been clergy for a long time." Being a pastor is not being clergy. You happen to be clergy, but being a pastor means I have to care. So up to this point, I've been a really good officer. I've been a good architect. I've been builder. I've been all sorts of things. And the Corellian tradition has resulted of it. CNC has results of it. A lot of other groups have resulted from it. all over
But
the world.
you're right. Being the officer of a tradition is not the same as being the parish priest.
No, and I'm about to take on being a parish priest because I'm kind of done with those global issues. I mean, I don't need all of that. I mean,
I
wouldn't
think we
that
have a
make?
lot more local focus now.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting, and I'm finding out Danville. So tomorrow I'm going to be kind of laying out more of it, but I've decided to sit down and try to build more of a pagan community in Danville, the pagan town
Mhm.
I've been visiting. And people are going to scream about it too, because the truth is,
Oh,
Danville is one of the worst cities in America, supposedly.
supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, and
And
statistically, it is.
Shankar Alam says, "I got your back, Reverend Don. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. May need that."
Hmm.
Magical Mermaid says, "I make my henna hair dye a ritual." You know, everything can be a ritual. When we bring sacredness into our life, everything takes on that quality. And hello to Dimitri Nightshade Black, who wishes us a happy New Year's.
Hmm. So
And
yeah, thank you. So I'll be making more of announcements to kind of officially take into that role of being a pastor, of being a localized priest, and dealing with. When I started this, and let's understand, we always talk Danville as being the Karelian homelands,
mhm.
and people are going to say, "Well, he could have chosen a better place." How? I mean,
We chose
how?
it in 1864. It was
What?
different then.
Well, yeah, because that's when your family arrived, 1864, right?
Yeah, it was 1864 when my family came to Danville from Warren County. I believe it was Warren County, Indiana.
Huh. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Um,
That's what when Caroline High Corel came to Danville,
okay.
1864, and her parents.
Well, didn't you have others involved too? I mean, you talk about your uncle George.
They were
Um,
across the border in Indiana.
okay, coming into Danville, so they've been even further deeper, even
Yeah.
further past. I mean, they made their formal move in 1864, but they
Yeah.
were involved in before that because
Hmm.
your uncle,
Well, it's all right together.
right? I mean, you talk about Lincoln and things of that nature.
Hmm. You know, Lincoln
Uh,
was the family lawyer.
yeah, and
Uncle George was one of his most famous clients.
mhm,
Couldn't get Uncle George declared innocent for anything because he certainly wasn't.
yeah.
But he still managed to get him off.
And so we face that. So that's our graveyards are there. And so, people, have you had any of you had dreams from it? I did it last night, and one of the things it says, "Where's the body's bones and ashes?" And I took it to mean it was very. It wasn't a pleasant dream. It was pretty physically violent in some ways in my mind. I was dreaming literally of being in a town, some sort of town primitive, where suddenly the bones were stolen,
Mm.
and it was such anger in that dream. And that when I woke up, I had it, and it says, "Well, where are your bones, your body's bones and ashes?" And I realized that Lady Crystal and Don and Lord Don know where their family is,
Hmm.
for the biggest part,
Most of them.
and maybe some tracking down. But
Nobody knows where Uncle George is because nobody's actually sure when or if he died.
it could be a vampire walking around.
Could be.
No. But where are we've had so many people die, so many people pass away already in our tradition. I don't know that we know where the bodies are. We don't know where the ashes are. We don't know where if we wanted to venerate their graves, how to do so.
That's true in many cases.
And that's
And
one. Go ahead.
in the chat room, Janet Winston is asking, "Can anyone have a vial of water?" Yes, absolutely. Just send me a DM on Facebook, and we can arrange it for you.
Yeah.
And we want to say hello to Manoj Kumar Srivastava from India, who is wishing us happy 2025 because it's already January 1st there. And happy 2025 to you, Manoj. And
And
hello
I've
to
seen
Steve Taylor.
and I've seen some of the fireworks out of that area. My gosh, this year the East, as we would call it here in the West, are really blowing off a lot of fireworks this year. They're really excited to getting this year started.
You know, that's a very important thing in some parts of the world.
Hmm.
Years ago, it was explained to me from someone from the Philippines, where we have a lot of Corellians,
Hmm.
that New Year's Day there is celebrated by massive fireworks so much that you can physically feel the change of the year. You can feel it like vibration.
And it's very interesting. Thank you for coming in from India, because we're looking at incense from Bombay, India. We're looking at creating
Yes.
our own special temple incense from Bombay, India. It's be about 8 to 10 months. I guess the whole process actually takes longer than when one would think. But yeah, we by the end of 2025, we'll have, I think, Corellian Ancestor House temple incense.
Now, SpikeFan asks how he can contact us without Facebook. So you can send me an email at donlewishp@aol.com,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be the same thing as sending me an IN.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to get a bottle of water, you can DM me on Facebook or send me an email at donlewishp@aol.com.
Right. And I think one of the other things, and the reason I asked for people to do salts, is that I
Mhm.
want them to make black salts this year. I think we're going to be making black salt. People don't realize I've been in front of the temple burning incense. I've got acid.
Mhm.
So we'll be making black salt and some more of the traditional items, because I think we have, as a local parish, as a priest, and Gaia Thrift is all a part of this. Understand, Gaia Thrift is essential. Please, so many people have donated so many goods, and maybe you can't donate cash all the time, that sort of thing. And I know that, but we can convert goods. It's very sustainable. It's well within our mission. There's a lot of things. But on the Black Moon, one of the things it told us is that we've got to take real responsibility. The biggest message, I think, is that not only do we have these tools, the shadows, the ability to use things, but we have so many different ways of acting within that. I think is really important. Um, I really do.
Well,
I think it's very
want to
important.
say, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, we want to say hello to Nickery, who is joining us from Canada.
But I think we have to take more responsibility for ourselves, a
Mhm.
lot more responsibility for ourselves. And I think that's important. We're not going to find outside answers, not currently, not under the current administration, not under a lot of things. I think we're not going to find a lot of outside help.
Mm.
And what do I mean by that? Well, it depends if you're discriminated against, if we don't have the systems in place, if you haven't donated to Lady Liberty League. I cannot tell you enough that we need to be
Mhm.
setting up our own systems like Lady Liberty League. Everybody go, oh, we go to ACLU. Well, how much money are you going to donate to ACLU? You need to build a
Mhm.
relationship with them. Beth Moore was the one who brought in. We had a relationship with Beth Moore, who brought in the Veterans Temple Project. It takes money, it takes energy, and ACLU is going to be flooded with it. LGBT
Mhm.
problems. There's going to be tons of problems. So they're going to find our problems kind of small. Some of
Mhm.
them are important, but they're going to be kind of small, and they're going to be bundled. This year is going to be ACLU. If you've been looking at them, we've been talking about having to bundle cases.
Mhm.
So what does that mean? It means that yours is not going to be alone. If they find another 5 or 6 cases in your area, they're going to bundle them together and try to take them as a class action suit. They're going to be overwhelmed, and that is an intentional, purposeful product of the right. They plan to overwhelm ACLU, American Separation for Church and State. So we need to start looking at our own resources
Mhm.
if we want to bring our cases forward.
Yeah.
And I know 90% of people go, oh, it's just going to be okay. I know that. I've seen it. And I'm hoping they're right.
Yes, we certainly hope that that is true.
But I deal in the 10%, and I've dealt in the 10% area.
Well, you also, as a child, were trained in that movement, and you know
Absolutely.
that they are serious. It's not just talk. And you've been saying that as long as I have known you, and I have known you for a lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
it
the black
is.
and the Black Moon was a statement to it.
Mhm.
Mary was feeling the rage. Lady Mary was feeling the rage. A lot of the women I know feel the rage. I
Mhm.
wanted to create a place where they could express that.
Yes.
I'm not so. I practice Corellian rituals. Mostly, I leave it to great practitioners. One of the things, the reason why I built so many great people, and why I'm so happy for the tradition and gave Don a platform, is that I'm not participating in a lot of rituals, but you don't know how many platforms I've created so that others can commit these rituals.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what it is, because I'm not a great ritualist. I
Well,
am.
your rituals are very individual.
I am an exceptional magician,
Yes.
and I make egregores. So let's go ahead and reveal the greatest egregor I've built with recent day. Black Moon.
Yes.
The Black Moon is my egregor. Actually exists because of actions I took in the 90s. So the Black Moon
Hmm.
covered. It got spread out. Dorothy Morrison was the first to put in an almanac in a religious way. It's been acknowledged by Wild Hunt, did a story a couple of years ago, and others. Black Moon is an egregor that did not exist in the magical world as a practitioner prior to 1993, 1994.
Yeah, it did not exist as a term or a practice or anything until then.
And 99 made it famous.
And this is where it came from.
Yeah. So that was another thing about it. I wanted to kind of, and with that egregor, I've built egregors of crystal web.
Hmm.
I've built egregors now that you can draw on. If you're really paying attention to that ritual, you can draw on all those powers. The Eye of Argus
is a egregor is called in that ritual.
What? The Eye of Argus is a real one that I made in 2020 in January along with Chris Copeland. It was a game at first. Those who watch the watchers pay for the watchers. Those who are watched pay for the watched. And it was a big thing. And guess what would happen next? COVID.
Hmm.
And it became very real. Everybody was watching everybody for now. I mean, literally. So we brought this egregor in to kind of oversee it, give us this magical authority over it. And we were then saw COVID, and then we were the first ones that the Corellian tradition, and more important, the Sacred Order of Paladins, were the first to rescue a lot of festivals.
That's true.
Online. I mean, we saved a lot of festivals. Most people
the Eye of Argus was very beneficial to us.
Right, and we were right there at the spot. So that's the Eye of Argus, the swords, the castle. The castle has been around for a long time. We invoked it in an illustration.
Mm-hmm.
This was a series of egregors. Most people don't realize it. Probably that's why it was. I realized looking at it, it's really insider. If you've been practicing magic with me, Don has, and Jason has, and Ebony has, and Mary has, and Michael McBride was his first time, and Lori, the hand-to-hand person, was the very first time we've ever worked with her. I thought that was very important. That hand-to-hand. Remember, hand-to-hand, touch-to-touch. That is how our circle grows. I think we need to do that more. The more we can do that, it's a very simple thing. That's my next egregor. I'm building another one, and it is a pagan town. But yes, Black Moon Ritual was an egregor that I created, and it's been acknowledged that back in the 90s that has gotten to be out of control.
Yes, well,
I love Phaedra, but Phaedra's always so beside me. She's like, yeah. I'm so grateful she loves me and forgiving me for it, because she hates pop culture witchcraft, and I don't blame her. And this in a lot of ways became pop culture.
So Swackfan says, if we live in an apartment, can we proceed to bury our crystal in a flower pot for the sake of privacy?
Absolutely. A lot of people have, and you don't have to bury them. I mean, that's one thing we do. Some people keep them their access point right there on the altar where people can see it. It is a preference, but yeah, plants, it'll help the plant, the healthy plant. If you can keep that plant healthy, it feeds energy into it, and it gets energy back and forth.
And Magical Mermaid says we need a human crystal grid. That's kind of what this is.
Oh, sure. It doesn't exist without humans.
Yeah. Now we need to take a moment for a word from our sponsors. Why? Because we love our sponsors. Which I can say because I'm one of our sponsors.
Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Rev Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours.
And thank you to our sponsors, Equinox Learning Hub and Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, and we will be having more auctions for you in the new year.
And if you want to, take a look at a Gaia Thrift, and we have a link so that if you come to our that you can get $15 credit.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you're a seller, we can there's more available. So yeah, I do think online live selling is it's already here. People, if you're not getting involved with it now, it's like saying, "Oh, I don't like TikTok. I don't like Facebook. I don't like Twitter." Whatnot.com is like, and
it's the next big thing.
It is, and we've seen it.
It's the home shopping cauldron of the future.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Well, people who have followed Corellian TV / Magic TV for many years will remember the home shopping cauldron. We used to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should do it again.
So, last thought for me, preserve the water. We'll talk about it. You can contact me and everything else. The next big event, I think, astrologically, there's a lot of them coming up, is the 1-25-25 that people are talking about, the 7-planet alignment. And August 23rd, 2025 is the next black moon. What are we going to do that? And I think it's going to be we're going to create it interesting.
Yes, indeed.
And finish your reconciliation work. Let's go into the new year with a completely brand new attitude. A can-do attitude, maybe, but one that says we must concern ourselves with us.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone. This is our last program for this year, our last midday for this year. I'll see you next year, and I hope you have a wonderful new year. If you're interested in a bottle of Black Moon water, send me an IM or an email at donlewishp@aol.com. And otherwise, enjoy your calendrical New Year's festivities. And let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we ask you to help us to manifest a bright and happy new year that will take us to where we wish to be in this world. Help us to manifest the future we desire, to defend ourselves against all challenges, and to overcome all obstacles toward building a better, happy, and just future for ourselves and everyone. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you with great love, and knowing you are always with us from respect, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. May you be blessed now and always. And again, we'll see you next year.